Heaville Explorers. A lot of people ask me, Chris, you went to Japan with your toddler. How did it go? Was Japan toddler friendly? And I think a lot of people have mistakenly think that Japan is an unfriendly country towards traveling with kids. I've heard that from a lot of people that they've said, Chris, I'm not going to go with my kids because it's just too hard. And I'm here to tell you it's not too hard. We've got 30 tips on how to make your Japan travel experience toddler friendly. And toddlers, infants, our daughter was 3 years old, but we've been doing a lot of travel with her, and so this is for, probably kids under 5 years. We're probably applicable to older kids as well. What this video isn't a how to go well on an airplane with toddlers or how to do a road trip with toddlers, because I got both of those if you just want to know about road tripping or you want to know about airplane travel. I've got links in the description, or I will after this video is done, that you can check out those videos, but we're going to go ahead and start in with the first tip. So the first tip I have with you for traveling with toddlers to Japan is to avoid big cities, particularly cities with the subway or the train, especially from the airport. With luggage, with kids, this is the challenge, right? Like, your loved one all have luggage, maybe even luggage for your kids, but they can't drag theirs yet because you've got to carry them or you've got to push them in a stroller. And how do you get all that stuff off the airplane from the airport to your hotel? It's different once your kids can actually drag or carry their luggage themselves and mind themselves, but at the point you have to make sure that they're not running into the train track and they're not running off through customs. It's hard to take all of your stuff with them and go in a big city and navigate stairs and escalators. Oi! So my recommendation is, if you're traveling with young ones, to go the less beaten path in Japan, go out to the country and avoid the big cities. Now, not to say that you can't go to the big cities for a little bit. We went to Tokyo, and I'll definitely talk through this about if you don't take my advice and you go to big cities anyway, how you might enjoy your time there. And by the way, on the live stream, Brandon says, I'm usually up for a challenge, but this is not one of them. Yes, traveling with a toddler to the big cities in Japan is definitely like difficulty level 12 on a scale of 1 to 10. All right, my second tip for traveling with a toddler to Japan is that young kids are okay in Japanese taxis without a car seat. Now, this isn't true in every municipality or country and city in the world, but in Japan, you do not need a car seat, a booster seat, or anything like that for your kids in taxis. You can just get in the taxi and go. And so a great way to get from the airport to your hotel or your destination is to take a taxi, assuming your lodging isn't too far away from the airport. You don't need any extra accommodations for that. Tip number 3 for traveling with toddlers to Japan is that I would say everywhere outside of Tokyo, it's okay to use a stroller. It's pretty stroller friendly, but in Tokyo or Osaka, don't even think about using a stroller. There's few elevators in public transportation. There's lots of stairs, and many restaurants, because they're so small, won't let you bring a stroller in. And actually many restaurants that are in like basements of buildings don't even have ways to get a stroller down there because there's only a staircase to get to a lot of places in Tokyo and Osaka. A friend of mine said that instead of taking a stroller to Tokyo, they took a baby backpack carrier, the Osprey Poco Plus, which is actually one I'm going to talk about a little later on here, as a way for taking his younger kids around Tokyo. Didn't work for our princess because she is like near weight capacity for the baby backpack, but if you've got a kid that's under 3, you might be able to carry them in a backpack or a front pack instead of in a stroller. Tip number 4. Now, if you do go to a big city or even a small city and there's one where there's trains or you're riding a subway, don't expect people in Japan to get up for you. In many places, Like if you walk in with young kids, people on the train or public transportation will like get up and make room for you. And it's kind of funny because you might think of Japan as a polite society where they might do that, but boy, when people have a seat on those Japanese trains, they're pretty well situated there. When we were in Taipei the week previous in Taiwan, everybody was getting up for us when we would get on a bus or we would get up on a subway, but nobody was getting up for us in Japan. I think because train riding is like people do it at such an early age. You'll see kindergartners in Japan going to school by themselves, riding the train. I'm not even kidding. And so they probably don't see it as like a big deal. Like, we all should be able to do this. What do you mean I need to get up for you? And definitely, back on that stroller thing, don't expect to push your stroller onto a Japanese train or subway during rush hour. There's just no place to wheel the thing in at all. Tip number 5 is to get an AirTag or a tile or your favorite tracking device and put it on your kids with a necklace or a bracelet. I stick the arrow on this picture because if you've seen some of the videos or some of the pictures that we've done from around Japan, you might see our princess with this little necklace, and actually inside that necklace, in that little green and yellow thing, is an AirTag. So if she did wander off or get lost, we'd be able to track her with the AirTag to reunite and try to find her once again. And also, we put a little wristband. They sell these wristbands that you can like write their name on, and so we also put a wristband with her name and our phone number in the event that she ran off. Luckily, we kept a pretty good eye on her and returned home without any lost incidents this time, or she didn't lose us. I always like to think, like, if you're at a theme park and they're like, hey, if you lose your children, go here. I like when they say, like, this is the area for lost parents. If you get lost, then you can come here, because that's often how it is. Kathy says we use AirTags on our luggage, and definitely luggage is also a great place to put AirTags. We have AirTags on our luggage as well. That's where we're like, well, I got like 6 or 8 of these things, so we might as well put them to good use. All right. Tip number 6, I mentioned that restaurants might not be stroller friendly or kid friendly, so what places are kid friendly? And in that case, I would tell you to look for food courts to eat at. Actually, many of the big malls, shopping malls, have food courts, and many department stores might even have like a food court level. This was a food court we went to in Yokohama. In what's the name of the shopping mall? There's a Uniqlo Park store there, which is like Uniqlo is kind of like Japanese version of the Gap, but then they've got one that has like slides and things like that outside the store. Sound odd? Yeah, it's kind of odd. But this was the food court, and we ate at a lot of food courts. Like when we were in Tokyo, at the Tokyo Skytree, they've got a food court, and it was a great way for us to find food that we like, for our daughter to find food that she likes, and then for us to be noisy if we want to. We don't have to feel like we're bothering people because the place is just so big and so open. And now, one thing to keep in mind about Japanese food is that many restaurants may have a kids menu or a kids offering, but it may not be what you're thinking when you're thinking of a kids menu or kids offering. So like, one of the hotels we stayed at, one of the Onsen hotels we stayed at, they said, would you like the kids' breakfast? And we're like, what is the kids' breakfast? And they're like, it is steamed rice and miso soup, which our daughter would not find to be a suitable breakfast. And so, investigate what like the kids' menu is and see if that's something that your kids actually like before you just go ahead and get the kids' meal. Or maybe consider exposing your kids to some Japanese foods before you go. The great thing is our daughter really, before going to Japan, really enjoyed noodles and also enjoyed Japanese curry. And so we knew those were 2 things we could like rely on there. She also really enjoys pizza, but pizza is not something you're going to find all that much of in Japan. Prime Evil Marvin says, when we were in Tokyo, a local told us she doesn't use the train with her baby because the baby could cry and it would be loud when everybody is quiet. Yes, Japan is definitely this country of we don't want to bother anybody else. And so you don't see very many small children in big cities out and about like at all. They're sort of like kept inside to be safe, and they don't bother other people. And so that's definitely a big thing where I just figure like, how don't you bother other people? I think as visitors, we often get a little bit of, restraint from those rules. They're like, you visitors, you don't know all of our rules, which, anyway, the food court, people just expect they're going to get bothered anyway. All right. Now, if you're in doubt for food for your kids and you're looking for a place to eat, the great thing is Japan has a ton of convenience stores. 7-Eleven, which, famously in the USA is actually now a Japanese company, and 7-Eleven in Japan, so much better than 7-Eleven in the USA, and they've got some really good and tasty foods. You look for things like potato chips, just like good old Western food that's pretty tasty, and Japanese food as well. 7-Eleven is a great place to pop into. Family Mart is another big convenience store you'll see in a lot of places, and we got a lot of good snacks there, and pudding too. The Japanese love pudding, and so you'll find a lot of great pudding there. J. Dot says, we went to a family restaurant in Kyoto that had very kid-friendly American-style meals. Yeah, there's a lot of, I'll call them Japanese Western-style restaurants, and there's one called Royal Host, which you could basically consider it like the Japanese version of like Denny's or something like that. And yes, those are typically like super kids friendly. Like they go over the top for kids. And so this is where Japan seemingly unfriendly for kids, but as we go through this, you will actually see there's a lot of things they do, I find, in a lot of restaurants in Japan that are even friendlier than in like the USA, for example. But not so much in the big cities, not so much in Tokyo or Osaka, because there's not that many people with kids living in the big cities. The people with kids often live out much more in the suburbs in the country. J. Dot says, one thing that perplexed me, and I was seeing cooked foods like hamburgers on the shelf and not refrigerated. Are you sure those weren't plastic foods, J. Dot? Like they were like actual foods? I mean, in a 7-Eleven, they would all be refrigerated. Like those would be refrigerated shelves. Speaking of hamburgers, let's talk about this. So tip number 8 is just to be ready for some food that could be unfamiliar, even though it's familiar food. We went to a Japanese burger chain, Moss Burger, and this is because we're like, oh, it's going to be a hit. Our daughter likes burgers. She likes McDonald. She likes In-N-Out Burger. Let's go to the Japanese burger chain, Moss Burger. And the burger combo there, like the standard burger here, didn't have, cheese, lettuce, or tomato. Instead, it kind of had like a odd teriyaki sauce on it, and then instead of coming with fries, was served with corn soup. And well, the corn soup was quite delicious. The burger was really hit or miss. And so just because it seems like familiar Western food doesn't mean it's actually gonna taste like familiar Western food. So expect a few misses at the start. Another one, there's a Japanese pasta called Neapolitan pasta. Like, you might be at an Italian restaurant and see this on the menu, Neapolitan pasta. And if you think Neapolitan pasta is anything like you might have in Naples, Italy, you're completely wrong. It's got like hot dogs in it and a whole bunch of vegetables and like it doesn't look anything like an actual Italian pasta. Although, because it has hot dogs in it, it was a big hit with our daughter. And J. Dot says, the hamburger was real food. My son bought a burger that hadn't been in the fridge. Okay, interesting. I'll take your word for it. Art says, expect to do a lot of walking without a stroller or pram. This will be impossible. What to do? Front pack, baby pack, kid on top of the shoulders. That's what we did for a lot of our walking. And Brandon says, yeah, it's the same like going to Italy for a hamburger. Yeah, probably not that great. And Art says Chris always likes plain rice and noodles, easy to find in Japan. Rice and noodles are definitely easy to find in Japan. Now, speaking of McDonald's, this is tip number 9, is that McDonald's is always easy to find in Japan in a pinch. And I think that McDonald's in Japan is better than McDonald's in the USA. I say this because our princess, in the span of 8 days, maybe had 2 or 3 meals at McDonald's because, she'd go by it. She recognizes the yellow arches. She'd go fries, and she really loved the cheeseburgers at Japanese McDonald's. And then we came back to the States, and because we typically go to In-N-Out Burger in the States, we typically don't go to McDonald's, but then we come back to the States, and she sees the same arches that she enjoyed in Japan, and we go get a Happy Meal, and the cheeseburger, she takes one bite out of it here in America, and is like, no, I'm going to go ahead and put that aside. And so McDonald's in Japan is actually really good. Now, Chris, OC Girl, do you guys go to Japan to eat at McDonald's? We don't go to Japan to eat at McDonald's, so we would pre-fuel our daughter at McDonald's, and then we might go have the sashimi rice bowl that we were looking forward to eating after she got her fix of the burger and the fries. Kathy says, my son went to Japan in June. He's very fussy and went to Macca's a lot. Macca's, right? Macca's? Macca's. It's the Australian nickname for McDonald's. James says the shrimp burger is good. Shrimp burger at McDonald's? I've not had the shrimp burger at McDonald's in Japan. I definitely must be missing out. Art says, is the food in Japanese food courts as good as restaurants? In Australia, it mostly isn't. In Japan, it mostly is. We had really good food at Japanese food courts, and so just because you're eating in a food court, I don't think you should feel like you're getting subpar food. The ramen, the okonomiyaki, the this, that at food courts, all pretty legitimate. All right, I need to have a drink. What am I drinking today? Today I'm drinking a Rising Phoenix milk tea from Orobe. At lunchtime today, I was going to go to this tea shop called Omomo, and at like noon, there were 20 people in line at this tea shop. Crazy. So Omomo, you missed out, and Orobe got in because I'm too old to wait in line for 20 people for tea. Cray. Okay, let's go on to the next tip. Tip number 10 is that restaurants in Japan often have high chairs and kiddie bowls and utensils. You often just have to ask because they're often not in obvious places to get them. And so right there you see like a really cute high chair, and you see this kind of like pink cup. And so you might be in a ramen restaurant that like has, normal like really fancy ramen bowls. But then if you say like, hey, can I get some kids' plates? Then they'll bring out like the super colorful, like pink and yellow and plastic. So definitely ask if they have any kids' utensils or plates. Tip number 11 is that many of family restaurants or like Japanese Western restaurants will have free toys for kids. And not just the Japanese Western restaurants, but like restaurants that decide to cater to kids, they will bring a basket of toys to the table. If you see this little car on the table, and I'll make this right big, this little car on the table right here, this was one where this restaurant brought out this basket of toys, and that was the car that she picked out to play with while we were eating. Some would bring the basket out and say like it's 100 yen if they pick out a toy, but I thought that was kind of neat. It's different than sort of like the Happy Meal thing of like you get a mystery toy, like the kids can see the toys and pick from it, and how long can you play with a toy, right? Like it's a new toy to play with for dinner, but I think it's one that they've discovered just makes everybody's dining experience even better when they have a little toy to enjoy themselves. Art says, is it easy to get baby seats in rental cars? Super easy, and I'll hit that point in number 15. All right. Tip number 12 is to look for restaurants that have traditional Japanese style seating. What is that? That's where you're seated on a tatami mat and you eat at a low table. Our daughter just loved not being restrained to a high chair, sitting on the tatami and eating. You saw in the food court picture I showed you earlier, the food court actually had tatami-style seating in the middle. This is a tatami area in one of our hotel rooms, but anytime we had the option to sit in the tatami floor area, take off your shoes, sit on the floor, get up, run around, sit on a pillow, she just enjoyed it. So look for the Japanese-style seating. If you're not used to it, it can be a little hard on the people that aren't used to sitting on the floor, but I think it's a good way to entertain the kiddos for a bit. Though, reminder, if you are sitting in the tatami area, you need to take off your shoes before you walk on the tatami mats. Tip number 13 is make sure to bring plenty of napkins and plenty of wet wipes, because many restaurants don't really provide much in the way of napkins. I find most of the napkins in Japan to be these weird waxy things. They're like not very absorbent at all. And so if your kiddo eats a lot of pasta or ice cream and makes like a huge mess, you're going to be like really having a hard time wiping up with these waxy napkins. And so bring your napkins from home, bring your baby wipes from home, make sure you have a good supply of them while you're in Japan. And then many like street food stalls, they don't even provide napkins at all, because Japanese are often like brought up from very young to carry like a handkerchief around with them, or like a little hand towel. And so because they always have that, they don't need like incidental 1 or 2 napkins here or there. And J. Dot says, it is common to give wet wipes, and they do. They'll often give like it wrapped in something, and there's like a wet wipe in it, but they're so small. And Jay says sometimes they're not that wet or useful. Sometimes they're dried up, and I agree. Art says, can we get away with some kids' bad behavior because they're foreign and cute? You probably can. I would say our daughter was probably running around a little bit more than the typical Japanese, but it was great to see Japanese kids running around and horsing around like a 3-year-old too. Art says, do a lot of restaurants offer free Wi-Fi? Going to need to keep kids entertained on tablets during dinners. I did not find, Japan does not have much in the way of free Wi-Fi. I have a solution for that coming up in one of the future numbers though. And Wu-Tang Life says, when you travel, go to McDonald's and Burger King. There are things different you can't get at home in America. There are a lot of YouTube videos. You will be shocked. I agree. It's always interesting to see the international dishes at some American fast food restaurants. Okay. Tip number 14. What do you do with naps? And so I've got 2 tips for naps, maybe 3 tips I've got for naps. So my first tip for naps is if your kiddo still naps, book a central hotel someplace so you can go back to the hotel for a nap if your kiddo is one to like nap in a bed in the afternoon. Tip number 2, if you're in the country and you took a stroller, you can push them to sleep in the stroller. Tip number 3, which is what we did most days, was we rented a car, and so we planned a drive at her nap time so that she could sleep in the car. And yes, I'll hit car seats in just a moment, but we found that to be the most worthwhile use of our time. Literally, we would plan our day to be like, after lunch at 1 o'clock, we need to go to the car for a drive. And that didn't always work out perfectly, because sometimes after the restaurant, on the walk back to the car, she might fall asleep in my arms or on my shoulders or something like that. And in that case, we would just find like a bench or something like that to sit on for half an hour, or a cafe to sit in. We like stopped at one ice cream shop to, have her sleep on my lap for 45 minutes before we kept on going. But, in that case, just like I would say, I feel like a common mistake that parents make traveling with toddlers is not planning the day around the nap. And you just have to, because if they don't get their nap, then they're cranky, and then it's bad times for everybody. So make sure the nap is planned in there. And Brandon says, Princess looks so peaceful in the picture. Indeed, just quite a deep sleep. And by the way, if you look closely at that shirt, which became her pajama shirt, it's got little ghosts on it. That was her Halloween costume that then became a pajama shirt. And Kathy says, looks nice and peaceful when they're asleep. Just like Sleeping Beauty, right? All right, let's talk about tip 15, which is to rent a car. Yes, if you're going with infants, toddlers, young kids to Japan, my probably number one recommendation for you after avoid the big cities is to rent a car. Chris, why'd you put it as 15 then if it's your second recommendation? I got 30. I can't put all my good tips at the beginning. The good tips have to be spread out through this. So rent a car. Now people will say, but Chris, isn't it hard to drive in Japan? Because don't they drive on the other side of the road from the USA? And while, yes, they drive on the other side of the road from the USA, I do not find driving to be that difficult in Japan. Out in the country, I say out in the country, there's some places where driving can be a challenge, but drivers in Japan are generally polite. Rental cars are new, they're clean, super easy to get a car seat. We always rent our cars from Toyota Rent-A-Car. Yes, the car manufacturer. They're also a rental car company. So you rent a Toyota rental car, you get a Toyota rental car. They're not going to give you like a Jeep or something. You're going to get a Toyota rental car. And when you reserve a car seat, they actually put it in the car. And when you get to the car, it's like, here's your car with your car seat. The car rental experience in Japan, so different from so many places around the world where, like, say in the US, you fly to LAX, you rent a car at Hertz or whatever, and they might be like, there's a bunch of cars, go pick yours from the aisle, come over here for the car seat, put it in yourself. In Japan, if you've said, hey, I'm picking up a rental car at 2 p.m. and I want a Toyota Prius, you're going to get a Toyota Prius, they're going to have the car seat in it, it's going to be ready, and it's going to be parked in spot 50 for you. And so, super easy to get a car seat. It was a nice car seat, better than any car seat we've gotten in any rental car company anywhere else. And to boot, though, you should definitely make sure you reserve a big enough car. Japanese cars are really small, and so if you're used to renting like the smallest economy or compact, that's going to be like half the size in Japan. And so if you've got a car seat in the back, you're definitely going to like need a bigger one so that they can actually have leg space. Art says, if you're late for the pickup of the car, is that an issue in Japan? I don't think it's an issue if you're late to pick it up based on the time you reserve, because they've got it reserved for you. I will say they are much less lenient on like late returns. We returned our car like 45 minutes after the time on our drop-off. Like say it was a 2 p.m. drop-off and we returned it at 2:45 and they charged us an extra, I don't know, like 2,000 yen or something, like $15. Like, which almost anywhere else they'd be like, you're here within an hour of dropping that off, no big deal. But in Japan, they took a calculator to like calculate exactly how much money we owed for exactly how many minutes late it was. Art says, I told you I would smash the questions. It's great because these are all things people want to know. Art says, are the toll roads really expensive? So I'm going to have a video coming up all about driving in Japan that I'll go like even more detail into these things, which is what I took this picture for as the thumbnail for it. But the toll roads are expensive. I mean, expensive. You know, over the course of 7 days driving from Tokyo to the Izu Peninsula to the Fuji Five Lakes region and back to Tokyo, we spent about the equivalent of $100 in tolls. You don't really avoid them because if you take the surface streets, they're going to be really slow. You take the toll roads. That's just what you do, and you just pay for it. So you will want to make sure you get a transponder from the rental car company that will just like basically automatically pay all the tolls for you, and then you pay all the tolls when you get back to the rental car company. And then Art asked about, do 6-year-olds need a car seat? I don't know the exact age for car seats in Japan. I think it's the same thing about like car seats, booster seats, that sort of stuff. Kathy says they drive on the correct side. Kathy, you'll notice I didn't use the term wrong side of the road. It's just the other side of the road from what we drive in the USA. And Brandon says this was a nice picture of Mount Fuji. Yeah, totally not photoshopped, right? This was from Fuji Five Lakes. We're just like, and that is Mount Fuji. All right. Okay. And Art says, what size car? It depends how big your suitcases are. It depends how big your stroller is. But, we booked a Toyota Corolla, and I would say a Toyota Corolla is probably good size for 2 suitcases, a stroller, 2 adults, and 1 child. If you've got more people, then you'll probably need a bigger car, but then you'll find it to be really hard to park. Okay, speaking of strollers, we did not take a stroller to Japan, and so we were relying on a lot of other wheeled forms of transportation that we would find throughout Japan. And so if you don't take a stroller, you can do the same thing. And so in supermarkets, they have a lot of really interesting kiddie shopping carts. And this is a kiddie shopping cart at, can I blow that up and see which, Max Value. This is a shopping cart at Max Value. And in this shopping cart, you can see she actually has like a little place to stand, kind of like a standing skateboard or something like that, like behind where you put the basket. So she really enjoyed being pushed around the store. That was a lot of fun. At airports, you'll find free strollers at airports. You'll find other free strollers just around. So if you find a free stroller, like, go ahead and use it. Different supermarkets had all sorts of different ones, but she enjoyed being in every wheeled mode that she could. Now, this is the one I promised. This tip number 17. This is about using a baby backpack carrier. So if you don't want to push a stroller around and your kid is less than probably 3.5 years old, consider a baby backpack carrier, baby front pack carrier if they're really young, but I really like the Osprey Poco Plus. This is the one you see in all of my hiking videos, and that's one of our daughter's favorite spots to just hang out on my back. And while it's heavy, it's not oppressively heavy, and yes, I can walk hours and hours and miles with her on my back right here. Art says, we're going from Tokyo to Kagoshima with a few cities. Should we rent a car all the way, mixed train and car? My opinion, if you're going for car all the way. Rent a car at the airport, take that car with you, take it back to the airport. I already mentioned the 8 days that we did, but we started in Tokyo, we came back to Tokyo. We spent 2 nights in a hotel in Tokyo. We kept our rental car for those 2 nights in Tokyo because we needed to go back to the airport, and it was just so much easier to just already have that car and put our stuff in the car and take that car to the airport than it would be some other form of transportation. Just when we were in Tokyo, we didn't use the car in Tokyo, but we used it to get to our hotel for 2 nights in Tokyo and then to get us to the airport. Parking at Japanese hotels is mostly free in the countryside, and in Tokyo, it's surprisingly cheap. We were staying at the Hyatt Centric in Ginza, like one of the most expensive neighborhoods in Tokyo, and it was 2,000 yen a night to park our car. Like less than $20 to park, and hotels do that for hotel guests. If you were not a guest, it'd probably be, like $20 per hour to park there. But for hotel guests, it's cheap. Alex asked if I can give a shout out to Alex's mom and dad. Shout out to Alex's mom and dad. Welcome back from Orange County. Tip number 18 is diapers and baby supplies and stuff. While you might say, look, Japan, I can buy all the baby supplies I need because they've got babies there. They got different baby supplies probably than the ones that you're used to. So my recommendation would be to bring the diapers and the wipes and things that you need with you, particularly if you're out in the country, because it might be harder to find those things than you actually think. There was a question in the chat about trash cans, and so I was going to hit this here. Now, there's an interesting etiquette towards trash in Japan and diapers in trash cans. So the general etiquette in Japan is not to throw diapers in public trash cans, particularly poopy diapers into public trash cans. Many public restrooms don't even have trash cans in them. And so if your kid goes number 2 in their diaper, what do you do with it? You're supposed to empty the number 2 into the toilet, flush it, and then carry the diaper in a plastic bag with you until you get back to your hotel or until you find the trash can. Now, the good thing about bathrooms. We'll talk about this with toilets in the next one, is that if you find like a kiddie toilet in a shopping mall or things like that, chances are they will have places for you to throw away diapers or those sorts of things. And if you're out and about and you're looking for like, where might I get baby supplies, where might I get diapers, look for Don Quixote. It's like the Japanese version of Walmart, or Aeon, Aeon, another big kind of supermarket grocery chain. You'll find a lot of baby supplies there. Okay, toilets. Tip number 19, where do you do diaper changing, or where does your kid go to the bathroom if they're potty trained? So actually I would say like kiddie toilets are more plentiful in Japan than they are in the USA. And so in this shopping mall or department store, you see this little like yellow sign that was like, this is particularly the kiddie toilet and changing room, where they'll have changing facilities, and they'd also have a kiddie-sized toilet. In Japan, many public restrooms, like they'll have one, it'll have a kiddie-sized toilet. And if it's not a independent bathroom like this, then it might be a stall inside of the toilet. And so in that case, there'd be one in the men's and one in the women's. But, you know, what you might think is the, say in the USA, there might be one stall that's bigger than all of the rest because that one's the, you know, disabled stall or the wheelchair accessible stall. In Japan, that might also be the kiddie stall that would have like a little kiddie toilet in it too. So be on the lookout for kiddie toilets if you've got kids that are potty trained. Primeval Martin says, the reason why they ban trash cans, there's a terrorist attack. I don't think that's the reason why they ban trash cans. I mean, certainly that might be a reason why they've taken them off the train platforms. But in Japan, you as a resident of Japan, when you throw away your trash, you pay to throw away your trash. Like, you buy bags to throw away your trash in, and that's how they tax you, based upon how much trash you threw away. And so because you have to pay to throw away your trash, then they kind of don't want to provide these other things for you to provide more trash other places, because then they got to pay to throw it away. Like, you should pay to throw it away and not make your trash somebody else's problem. Art says, are there a lot of public toilets easily accessible? Yeah, so in the big cities, there are a lot that are easily accessible. In the countryside, then your best stop is to look for a roadside rest stop. There are a lot of roadside rest stops in Japan, though the challenge is that they often close early. Like, they close by like 6 p.m. or something like that. So Chris, the rest stop closes 6 p.m. The rest stops often have like a lot of shops in them, and they're very different from rest stops in the USA. So yes, we did have those incidences where our daughter was like, I really need to go to the bathroom. And, you know, we didn't often have a huge issue trying to find her one. But, you know, sometimes if you're driving on the freeway in the countryside, just like in the US, it might be a long way to a restroom. Monster Egg Gal says, just went to Japan 2 weeks ago for the first time, and your videos were invaluable. Well, awesome. I hope you had a great trip to Japan. Okay. Tip number 20, baby food and formula. Where are you going to get your baby food and formula? Not really so much in convenience stores, but you'll typically find them in supermarkets, and often you'll find supermarkets in the big cities in the basement of department stores. So if you see a big department store, you know, head down into the basement, and that's where you'll often find a place that has a lot of food. You'll be able to get your baby food and formula there too. But some other baby necessities might be hard to find. So an example is, we typically carry a silicone bib for our daughter to eat in. With, like, you know, it's really easy to clean. You just wipe it out. We lost one of the bibs. Well, we brought one, and we lost it. And so then we were like, oh, well, no problem. We'll just go buy another bib. For the life of us, over the course of 8 days, we went into every store, into every baby. I mean, we didn't go to every store that we saw, but like every store we were in, we went to the baby aisle, and we could not find a silicone bib. I don't know if Japanese kids are just neater than their American counterparts or what, but silicone bibs were impossible to come by. The good news was that we were staying our first night in a very kid-friendly hotel, and they had disposable bibs, and so we grabbed, I counted as to how many meals we had left and grabbed that many disposable bibs so we could use those over the course of the stay. Tip number 21 is many big malls outside of Tokyo can be super baby friendly. So if you're looking for a place to I need to make sure my kids can go to the bathroom, I need a mother's room, I need a place to warm my milk. Shopping malls are often a great place to do that outside of Tokyo. This one is in that shopping mall I talked to you about in Yokohama, where they had a baby lounge, they had everything that you would need to sustain life for you and your kiddos was at this shopping mall. What about elevators? This is interesting. Tip number 22, if you're in big buildings, like big department stores in the big cities, and you need to ride the elevator and you got a stroller, look for a particular elevator just for wheelchairs and strollers. Yes, they exist. They're these places are so busy that, might take a long time to wait for the elevator, but they have special ones just for the people who need it, wheelchairs and strollers. So go ahead and take a look at that and make use of it. Adam, thank you very much for your support. I appreciate it. Art says, we're going in September. Is that shorts and t-shirt weather? Is wearing Birkenstocks in public acceptable? I know they dress well in Japan. I think September is shorts and t-shirt weather. And while they probably wouldn't wear Birkenstocks in public, I think they'd find it okay if you wore Birkenstocks in public. And yes, did we spend much time in Yokohama? We basically spent a day in Yokohama on our way from Fuji 5 Lakes into Tokyo, but we could have easily spent more time in Yokohama, and yes, it is kids friendly. Okay. So I said I was going to talk about internet. This is the internet tip. Tip number 23 is to get a pocket Wi-Fi to stay connected. What's a pocket Wi-Fi? It's a Wi-Fi router that's battery operated that you can connect multiple devices to. So a lot of people often ask me, Chris, what SIM card do you recommend? And if you're going with a few people, if you're watching this video and you got kids, you might have a few kids, a few adults, and if you get a SIM card for everybody, it starts to get really expensive. And so instead, you can get one device called a pocket Wi-Fi. That's like a Wi-Fi access point like you'd have at your house. Again, this battery operated, but it has a SIM card in it, and you connect all of your devices via Wi-Fi to that pocket Wi-Fi, and that's what has the cell phone connection. So that's what we got so that we were connected to the internet all the time, and really enjoyed that over the course of our 8 days. That way we could all use Google Maps, that way we could all research things, and for our daughter, that means she could always watch her cartoons on YouTube Kids. Art says, how much is a pocket Wi-Fi typically? I would say expect the equivalent of 5 to 10 US dollars a day, depending upon how fast and how much data. They're typically sold by how much data do you want to use. The one we got was from Ninja Wi-Fi. We arrived at Haneda, we picked it up, there was a counter, the pickup took us 3 minutes. It was super easy. And Lisa says, I heard many people are traveling to Japan right now before October 2023, is that's when train tickets will drastically increase. I'm sure there are some people who said, we got to get in to get the JR Pass while it's cheap. And although Japan might seem busy, and the big cities might seem like they're recovering, what I've heard is that in the countryside, there still are not that many people visiting the countryside sites. That was certainly the experience we had, that in the countryside it was not very busy at all, and actually a lot of the, what I'd call it, tier 2 tourist attractions in Japan are still really suffering because Japan still hasn't bounced back to the level of tourism that it had before. Art says, are those express VPNs that YouTubers promote worth it? My goal is not to call out other YouTubers, but I get a lot of emails for sponsorship offers for VPN providers. And you'll notice I promote none of them. So that's all I got to say about those VPN services that you see offered. I think people find them easy money. And the stretch of how useful they'll be to you as a traveler is nebulous at best. And I'm a computer scientist by like background, so okay. Tip number 24 is when you're looking to book your hotels in Japan, definitely put in the accurate number of people and their ages when you're booking. So like 2 adults, 1 child, and they're 3 years old. And don't assume just because you're booking a room that has a certain number of beds that you'll be able to sleep in all of them. Chris, what are you talking about? We booked this hotel room at the Hoshino Resorts in Ito, and it had 3 beds. So we booked it because it had 3 beds. There's 3 of us, myself, OC girl, and our daughter. We're like, we each get a bed. Sweet. But if you notice in the back of this picture, only 2 of the beds are made, and one of the beds has like a weird brown cover on it. And that's because we had not paid the extra bed fee. So even though there's a bed in a room, we couldn't use it without paying an extra fee of like 4,000 yen a day, like $30 a day or something like that, to use the 3rd bed in a room. In a room that already costs, the equivalent of like $500 US a night. They're like, you got to pay $30 more to use the bed that's already in your room. So anyway, just be aware of that if you don't want to run into those snags, make sure you put in the right number of people, and then you might even check with the hotel to be like, so, do I get 3 beds to sleep on, or what? The Wu-Tang Life says, as a solo traveler, I know you're not a fan of capsule hotels. Cheapest way is Airbnb. Wu-Tang Life, my recommendation for you, the cheapest way as a solo traveler would be to look into Japanese business hotel chains. And by the way, when I say business hotel chains, I don't mean like Marriott or Hilton's. In Japan, there's a whole set of hotels made for traveling business people to just spend the night in. They're really small accommodations. Toyoko Inn is a good chain for that, and so is APA. So take a look at those. You'll find inexpensive rooms that are small, but you still get your own room with a bathroom, generally in convenient locations near train stations. And Art says maybe we could sneak the kids into the hotel. Yeah, and we even talked about, we probably could have had our daughter sleep on that brown bed anyway, but it was just easier to pay the $30 US and get more pillows and another blanket. Kathy says, how do you book your hotels in Japan? I am looking at accommodation now. I either book it direct via the hotel website. In the case of Hoshino Resorts, where we stayed at a couple of these, Hoshino Resorts only takes bookings via their website. They don't take bookings through any third-party provider. Or I book through Expedia, or I book through Agoda. I've had a lot of good luck with Agoda, and I've found Agoda often has cheaper prices than many other booking platforms for hotels in Japan. Peter asked if we've ever stayed at the Muji Hotel in Ginza. We've not stayed there. We've been into it. Like, it looks really interesting. Looks really cool. We've been to that Muji store too. So, Primeval Marvin says, I only went to Tokyo. How easy is it to communicate at the countryside? Certainly easier in Tokyo, but it helps to know a little bit of Japanese in the countryside. But certainly, like big tourist hotels, easy to communicate. You use the point and order method. We didn't have a big problem. All right. Tip number 25 is many hotels will have kids-size yukatas and slippers. So if you're staying like an Onsen hotel, then they'll provide these robes. And so at one hotel, because we had put the accurate number of people in there and their ages, then they had the kid-size robe and slippers waiting for us. At the hotel that we didn't, we had to ask for them, but they provided the kid-size robe and slippers too. Tip number 26, hotel breakfasts. If your kiddo needs to eat a Western-style breakfast, you should really make sure the hotel you're staying at provides a Western-style breakfast, because many breakfasts in Japan, miso soup, rice, fish, aren't what I think a lot of Western kids have grown up with or will even eat. So, we really like big Western buffets. At this one, at the hotel in Atami, you can see for breakfast here, we've got some yogurt, and we've got some pudding, and they even had ice cream for breakfast, so she just loved it. Yes, and OC Girl says she wanted to stay at the Muji Hotel. I said no, and I said it didn't look super baby friendly. So, like, if you look at the rooms at the Muji Hotel, like a lot of hard edges or like bunk beds or things like that, and something I was just worried we'd have like a cracked skull from our daughter at the end. But I mean, it looks cool for sure. Art says, we've avoided hotel breakfast in Japan as I know my kids won't like it, even though I would love it. Art, I would just say there are plenty of hotels that have Western breakfast, and many hotels might even have a Japanese breakfast and a Western breakfast option. Like they might have like 2 different restaurants, so you can take a look at that too. Also, if you stay at the Western chains, like we stayed at a Marriott in the Fuji 5 Lakes area, it had a pretty good, we'll call it primarily Western style breakfast. It was definitely Japanicized, but it had a lot of things that our daughter eat. Ratharaz says, I'll literally watch Chris talk about anything, whether or not I need to know it. Awesome. Thanks for hanging out. I'm guessing you don't have kids. Your kids are grown or whatever. So thanks for hanging out today. By the way, for those of you that are enjoying this video, whether you need to know it or not, if you would give it a thumbs up, I would very much appreciate it. It helps me a lot with the YouTube algorithm to help YouTube know that you like it, to then share this video with other folks. Tip number 27 is if you need a hotel room with a refrigerator, the good news is that most hotel rooms in Japan come with refrigerators. You should double check to make sure the specific one you're staying at has one, but refrigerators are often a common amenity at Japanese hotels so that you can store milk or orange juice or whatever you need to. Tip number 28 is if your kiddo likes to run around, look for parks with playgrounds. They totally exist. And this was like a huge playground that our daughter really liked. It had a massive roller slide. You probably won't find it in the center of big cities, but you will find a lot of playgrounds out in the countryside. Tip number 29, if it's raining, in a lot of the big shopping malls, you'll find indoor playgrounds. Now, our daughter really likes indoor playgrounds. But the problem with indoor playgrounds in Japan, particularly on the weekend, is they can be really busy. They can be so busy that they often require reservations. And so if you're going to go to an indoor playground on a rainy day, check to see if it requires a reservation. Make one before you go there so it's not sold out. And then your kiddo is just waiting on the outside, hoping to play, but then can't. Tip number 30. Hot springs and onsens, a super popular thing to do in Japan, is to go to the hot spring bath. Put your feet in it, soak into it, and if you're like, how old does my kid need to be to go in the bath? The answer is, there is no like age minimum. What the general kind of guidance or recommendation is that if your kid is not potty trained, then they should stay outside of the bath. And some of the hotels we were at had baby baths or small baths that you could put the onsen water in there. But if they are potty trained, then they can go in. Generally, the guidance is they should go in with the if they're under six, then they can go in with mom or dad. So into either bath because they're gender separate. But then 6 or over, they should go into the bath of the same gender parent. And my tip 31 for you is if you're thinking about going to Japan with kids, stop thinking about it and just go, because it's a lot of fun.
Fellow explorers, it is now Q&A time. If you've got a question, I've got an answer.
All right, fellow explorers, so if you've got a question that I didn't answer yet, go ahead and ask it. Art says, can we use special pool diapers? They don't really want you to put any clothes or anything in the onsen, so no. But yeah, is it safe? I think it's safe. One of the onsens we were at was a little warm, so she just put her legs in. But another one wasn't as warm, and she really enjoyed that. Another one, we had an onsen in the hotel room, and so I would say our daughter really liked the big baths. She really liked one of the hotels we stayed in, the Tommy, that had a big ball pit in it. That was her ball pit on the 12th floor looking out at the ocean. That was her favorite thing about Japan. And we stayed at 4 different hotels, and her favorite thing was just going to different hotels. So she enjoyed that. Yeah, and so I think Georgianne says Their daughter found the onsen a little too warm because onsens are different temperature levels. So some are pretty hot. I mean, I think that one that our daughter found too warm, like we almost found a little bit too warm too. Jeremy says, I'm not good at speaking Japanese, only English. Can you get by? I think you can get by. I mean, certainly as you're looking at hotels, you should look at staying at maybe the more Western-friendly ones. At the restaurants, you should look at staying at the ones that are have like pictures or food that's outside, but definitely like the point and order method for food works well. We have yet to have an issue. Google Translate works wonders in a pinch. And Brandon says Art had a lot of questions today. Clearly Art is planning a trip with his kiddos, so Art, I hope this was useful to you and everybody else. Jay says, my kid is 18, but my tip for traveling is to buy the cup of noodles from the convenience store to keep in the hotel room for late night snacks. Most hotels we stayed in had a kettle. Great tip, Jay. OC girl really likes to eat, the cup of noodle. Japanese ramen, instant noodle. It's actually really quite good that you can get at the convenience stores, and so it's pretty tasty. And Art says this is a new Google Translate app. I've tested it. Not great. I think it's good for a few words. I don't think it's great to like carry on a conversation, but like if you need to know a word or two for something or a sentence and you type it in, that's what I don't use the voice translate features, and I don't really use the picture translate feature. Like I use to type in words and then get more words back.
Yes, it's the time you've been waiting for. It's time for the giveaway.
All right, fellow explorers, as in every live stream, I always give away a Yellow Productions crew shirt. And so if you would like to win one today, then you have to answer one of my questions. And my question to you is, what rental car company did we rent our car from on this trip to Japan? If you can answer that question, then I will send you a Yellow Productions crew shirt anywhere in the world. And if for some reason you don't get to win one, you can buy one at the Yellow Productions shop. You'll find the link right here or in the description below. And if you wonder, Chris, when is the next live stream? You can sign up for my email list at the Yellow Productions update right here. Also link in the description below. And I'll send you an email every time I've got a live stream scheduled. There will not be a live stream next week. Next week, you can stay tuned for a recorded video in its place instead.
And now we have a winner chicken dinner.
You know, what I always love about asking some of these questions, and somebody said that Kel is a mind reader because Kel L, you were the winner. You said Toyota rental car first. I think a lot of people are just like guessing things out. And so, Kel, whether you got the best guess or had that queued up, good job. Because you know what? I literally didn't even think of the question until it was time to ask it, so there's no giveaways before. Laura was number 2, and Sean was number 3, but Kel, overall, you are the winner. All right, well, fellow explorers, as always, it's been super fun hanging out with y'all. And as usual, I won't say goodbye, because I'm going to see you in the next video. Wait, I need this finger to push stuff. See you in the next video. Because I pushed this button right here that says outro.